So freezing. I'm on the DRB and you take blankets and heaters. And this is so comfortable. You all have the heat.
You're on the DRB of Alpharetta?
Yeah. But this is so nice. It's comfortable, huddled up in a ball.
Okay.
How are you, Judy?
Good evening.
to see you
Let's
again.
call the meeting to order and have a pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance. Yep.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Shubha Jangam. I'm Senior Planner at the city. Thank you for joining us today. This is a first stakeholder committee meeting for Milton's Urban Growth Boundary Project. Members, please introduce yourself, state your name, and how long you have associated with the city, quickly in like 30 seconds.
Hi, Judy Birds. Hard to say, but I currently serve on the Planning Commission.
Hi, Adam Orkin, resident and business owner in the city of Milton.
I'm Kim Matherly. I manage the Deerfield Master Association when it was still in Alpharetta, and then they split. So, but I'm still there for both.
I'm Laura Bentley, and resident and on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I'm Kurt Nolte. I am also on the Planning Commission and a member or a resident here since 2000.
Scott Reese, business owner, been in the city since its creation.
Good evening, Jake Sherrill. Been in Milton as a resident for 6.5 years and property owner.
Thank you. I really appreciate you all joining us today, members and the staff. Thank you so much, and people. A committee's work is really key to this project. So you all represent not just community at large, but the business owners, the landowners, and the builders and the developers. And individually, you have played a significant role in what cities is today. So thank you for supporting city's mission and this project as well. Just a reminder that we have a public comment period, and anybody who wish to speak, please fill out the yellow comment card, and you will get a chance to speak at the end of the meeting. For the proceedings of this committee, please select a chair and a vice chair. You guys
Well,
can nominate someone, and
I guess at this point, I'd like to nominate Laura Bentley as chair.
I will second.
Okay,
you want to vote or discuss?
I just, how, no, I'm happy to do it, but what's the scope of the work? That we're I don't want to know.
It's a lot.
So
It always is.
the last time you ever speak to me.
There's no sign holding or anything.
right, no sign
Okay.
holding. Yeah, we'll
Just-
take care of all the notifications and
Okay.
everything. We have 3 stakeholder meetings scheduled for next 6 months in the spaced apart, so that we can have enough public engagement done. So that's a commitment, and then we will. I'll outline that in upcoming
I'm
presentation.
good. I'm just wanted to ask.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Vice chair.
I'll nominate Adam Morgan as second.
Okay.
I'll
Second.
second.
Great.
Agree.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Laura. So let me open my present. Bob, you want to say
Just a
something?
point of
before I
order.
start?
Point of order. I don't think we took a vote on either of those.
Yeah, do we have to vote
Do we
on
need
those?
to vote on it specifically? No, it's just really just for the proceedings, we need a chair. And so you go ahead and vote. Go ahead and vote for the.
So on the first, on the chair,
Mhm.
all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And on the vice chair, for all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? That carries.
Am I
Hey,
supposed
passed
to,
unanimously.
am I supposed to have a packet?
Oh, yes.
Details.
We had dashed one down here.
Okay, that was extra.
Thank you. Like I felt a little left out.
Okay. So today, I'll begin with an overview of the project and outline the schedule of the project and discuss the purpose of the stakeholder committee particularly. These are the three things that I'm going to do today. We really need to start with the comprehensive plan to understand where it all began. And I assume you guys know that we adopted comprehensive plan last year. That's usually referred as Comp Plan 2040. Can you guys see on your screen?
We could, now it's gone.
It was up.
It's coming up. It's coming up.
There we go.
There we go.
So you can see the presentation on the screen. As I was saying, the comp plan was adopted last year, and it is a vision for the city for next 20 years. And it was a year-long process with extensive stakeholder engagement. And as you can see on the right side, that is a vision and mission statement for this comp plan. So at that time, we had comprehensive plan advisory committee. It was a 16-member committee, and they had public meetings, and they received a lot of feedback from people. And the top 3 comments that they received that you are seeing on the left side were all related to preserving rural Milton character. So the CPAC realized that in last 15 years, community has become really a premium community. It has grown a lot, and there is a lot of development pressure. So the growth management is really imperative right now. So CPAC was synthesizing solutions for this growth management, and they were presented with this concept of urban growth boundaries. And so they recommended that city should explore this project. So that's why we are here. And let me explain you what a growth boundary is quickly. So a growth boundary is a geographic area defined in a plan as a desirable and appropriate for growth during a specific period. And this concept has been around for a while. It was 1958 when Lexington, Kentucky first adopted urban growth boundary. They self-imposed it, and they did it to protect the farmland around the city and the equestrian community around the city. So the concept has been around, and many other states, these are the 11 states in the nation that require their jurisdictions to have urban growth boundaries. And there are a multitude of reasons they do it for. Some of them just to do it for protecting farmland, some do it for water source and wetland protection, and some do it purely for controlling the sprawl. In Georgia, we have a state planning law, and it does allow zoning, and it doesn't require UGB, but it also permits it because of the homestead rule. And many planning organizations in Georgia, such as Department of Community Affairs, which is the organization that approves everybody's comp plan, recommends such growth management practices. There is Georgia Planning Association and ARC, that's Atlanta Regional Commission. They also support such practices. And I recently heard that Cherokee County renewed their boundary agreement with City of Ball God. So that's something new I heard. So this concept has been practiced a lot. Now, what we have here is adopted future land use map. And what you are seeing here on the screen, as well as I have printed version over here of adopted land use map. So state requires us to adopt this every 5 years, and it visually shows what is city's policy for land use. It is not a zoning map. But the zoning, it guides the zoning decisions that come after and any future development that comes after. So it is a very important document, and it's been used in litigations often. So that's what we have. And as you can see on the map, a lot of our land is zoned AG1, which is agricultural, and or low density residential. So how do we maintain this low density residential? It is because we do not have sanitary sewer in this area. So it doesn't support high density. And this is actually our sewer map that shows where sewer is. And we have intergovernmental agreement with Fulton County and Forsyth County to allow sewer in these shaded areas. I mean only pink and orange. The pink areas, the Crabapple District and Deerfield District, are being served by Fulton County's sewer, and the Manor, which is orange, is being served by Forsyth County sewer. There is a small package plant at the cross-section of Birmingham Road and Birmingham Highway, which has a limited capacity. Now, this sewer map has been serving as an unofficial growth boundaries because higher density is only supported in this area because there is a sewer. And the general expectation is that our urban growth boundary map should mirror this sewer map, and with an alternative that you can identify certain areas such as Arnold Mill area that can be maybe added later in the future, just identifying. That's an alternative. And I'm saying that because there is no sewer at Arnold Mill area here. It has been looked at for various planning purposes previously, but currently there is no sewer in that area. So we have received a bunch of feedback till date. CPAC said that we really need to look beyond the sewer map and the intergovernmental agreements. We need to have a second layer of protection to our rural areas, and and also we need to prioritize that areas that has sewer for growth opportunities. And Planning Commission and the City Council, after reviewing the due diligence data, they gave us a direction to go ahead and do the planning and implementation of this urban growth boundary. So that's where we are. And this is our planning. This is our project schedule. We have already done with the phase 1, that is data collection. We are in the phase 2, the stakeholder engagement and map development. And once this map is finalized by you, it will go to the adoption cycle, which is going to council. And we really want this to be incorporated in next comp plan, that is Comprehensive Plan 2045, because once it's in the part of comp plan, it gets reviewed every 5 years. So public will have opportunity to review or revise it, the urban growth boundary, every 5 years if needed. So that's DCA, that's a Department of Community Affairs, says that that is a right way to go for the beginners because we're just implementing it. So, that's it. So that's the schedule. And so now to the purpose of the stakeholder committee, your role, as I said earlier, is very important. You will be reviewing a lot of data that will present, and you will consider feedback from the community, and you will be finalizing the map. So I'm hoping the next meeting will be more interactive on the floor. We can look at the map and discuss few things. But and so that's just my hope for the next meeting. Now, I would like to invite Bob to tell you about some other projects because we want to give you a holistic view of what's happening in the city and not make decisions in isolation. So there are lots of projects that are happening, different leads. And Bob will quickly give you a brief update on this project. Thank you, Bob.
Sure. Good evening and welcome, everyone. A lot of familiar faces here. Yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting project. When the CPAC board looked at it, they really looked at it and said, look, right now our sewer map is basically a de facto urban service boundary. It's basically limiting what we can do because they're not expanding sewer. But what happens in the future? What happens if Fulton County comes back and says, hey, from an environmental standpoint, you have no choice. We have to extend sewer. The septic program isn't working anymore. If somebody else comes and a lot of people try to do rezonings, and part of the rezoning is to expand sewer. And so far, all the councils we've been here pretty much since the beginning, Robin and I, and every council's been pretty steadfast against any expansion of sewer. What happens in the future? Things can change, councils can change, economics can change. The urban service boundary, if implemented, would just be another layer of protection that we'd have to go through to say, okay, if you want to do a rezoning, well, first you have to come in and ask council to amend the urban service boundary map. So yes, would it be amendable after you vote on it and say, yeah, we think this is good and this is what we recommend? Absolutely. There's every government always has a way of, changing the rules or, nothing's steadfast. Somebody could say, well, we'd still like to do it. Other things that we'd like to do is potentially put in some future areas, like we're looking at the Honor Mill corridor. And we're saying, well, maybe not the whole corridor, but some nodes, intersections within Honor Mill area. We've studied those in the past. We've identified one or two of those in the past. And maybe those become future areas that we can identify on this urban service boundary project and say those would be future areas. So I think that there would be a way to amend, but it would be another layer of protection. If it's challenged in court, the councils can come back. We've been very good at using our future land use map in the courts, and we've been winning. People have challenged our future land use maps. So future land use maps, so everybody knows, that's basically telling us what we would want for the future growth. And if it shows higher density on the future land use map, generally, if the council says no to it, people can challenge that in court and say, but that's the vision in the future of the city, so I want it. And since our future land use map has been not showing a lot of change and growth, it's been pretty consistent since the beginning of the city. We've actually been winning some substantial court cases where people have tried to challenge that. So this would be another layer on top of that, another layer of protection. There's a couple things. I know Milton is sort of famous, and we've been working real hard to preserve the rural Milton and to make 3-acre lots, 3-acre plus lots. The council's done it through incentivizing developers to do 3-acre plus lots. And I will report to you all that most 85% of the developments coming through so far, the developers have chosen to do the larger lots for a lot of reasons. One, the houses are getting much bigger. I think Scott Reese made a presentation a couple of weeks ago saying there are no more 1,600 square foot houses in the city of Milton. I thought it was a good point. Everybody wants really big homes. And so 3 acres is an appropriate size. Minimum 3 acres is appropriate size nowadays for homes. You can still do one, but we're incentivizing the largers. So that's something that we've been pretty well known for. It's getting around. Everybody I talk to says, wow, Milton's famous for their, large lot incentives and what we've been doing. But we're also got another front that we're working on with Milton, and that's the urbanized areas. So in a way, this is protecting the rural area, but it's also protecting the urbanized area, because what it does is it says to somebody, well, you can't just come in and ask for a rezoning to expand that area. You have to find some land within that urbanized area if you want to be commercial. So like Mr. Orkin owns property, and so somebody can say, well, if I want to do a development, I need to buy a piece of property from him. Otherwise, instead of doing that, I'll just buy a residential piece at the edge of the urban service area and just ask for a rezoning. Why compete? You know, I could just ask for a rezoning and kind of get the density for free. Because a lot of times councils can come and change densities and things, and it's like, it's free money, really. It's free upgrade of density. So what it does is it's solidifying the urbanized areas as well. It's also sending a message, and we're really putting a big push right now into economic development. And it's sending the message at every level that Milton is serious about its urbanized areas, and we are looking for businesses to move in, and we are supporting those developments come and stay in Milton. And it's just a ceiling that I'm shattering and breaking right now. I'm now down at the state level. We're at the county level. We're dealing with every broker you can talk to. We're dealing with every facet of business that can be brought into the city to expand the commercial areas. And a lot of what I'm hearing coming back is they all want work, live, play. I mean, it's just, things change. You know, 15 years ago, it was corporate parks. And Alpharetta had tons of them. And if you notice, every one of their corporate parks were all dissolving and because they were all ailing, including the mall. And people are coming back in with mixed use developments, work, live, play. And so that's going to be a challenge for us, because, I'm going to be going to council saying, look, I need a housing component to be part of those. We need mixed use developments, and every one of those have multifamily or some sort of housing component. And I know some of you own land and develop, and to try to develop that property in an urbanized area and to limit somebody to say, well, you can only do 100% retail, 100% office, and not have the residential component is basically just, they're all running. They're saying, Bob, but we'll go somewhere else, because we need to have that. And the form-based code is one of those tools that can be molded to give developers the assurance they need that when they come into the urbanized area, once we define it, and it's solidified, to say that, yes, we can expedite your development. We can give you the assurance that you're going to buy that property and you're going to be able to build on it. And not have to go through a lot of minutia to say, well, geez, I'm putting all this money into it. Am I going to get it? Because I will tell you, developers are coming in, business corporations, big corporations. I got Fortune 500s. They were all walking in saying, well, we're not here to beg to come into Milton. We're expecting Milton to beg us to come to Milton. So it's sort of a little bit of a reversal. I think people in Milton feel like we're Milton. This is great. We are Milton. I was here. I'm trying to make Milton. Believe me, I love Milton, right? We try to make Milton a very desirable place. But if we're really going to have people come in to build what they're doing, we have to give them the reassurance that this is going to be that area. They are going to have some sort of expedited and review process. They are going to have the support they need to actually go through and build what they did. And I'll say Deerfield is the area that I'm focusing on right now. Crabapple, we did focus on, and we did build out Crabapple, and Crabapple's almost pretty much built out. And Morgan's on our board. I will say he did a huge portion of our downtown. He built it all at once. And, these are big endeavors for people to put out there. I'll be frank, I just want to push that out there, because to take that risk and to say, okay, I'm going to put all of this money and time and energy into a development and not have a reassurance that that's going to be the limit of the area, and that somebody else can't come in and just take a piece and say, I'm going to rezone this now to commercial, while they're putting all their all their eggs and they're, taking a risk to do it. At least they'll know, okay, this is the limits of the commercial. This is what it is. This is what it's going to be. And I know that we're going to be able to, have support of that area. So in Deerfield, I'll just tell you real fast what we're doing is 2 big initiatives. We're working with the North Fulton CID. The city has put money into it. The city of Alpharetta has put money into it. North Fulton CID has put money into it. And what we're doing is we're hiring a consultant to come in and do an upgraded study. We had a LCI of Deerfield, but it's about 10 years old. So now we're coming back and saying, what are we going to do to relook at that area as an urbanized area? So if we define that in this urban growth boundary, what we're going to look for is, okay, what do we need to do for transportation improvements? We have a new interchange coming in. We have Highway 9 being expanded, and it's finally starting to creep up. They've told me it's been coming and coming. And I finally see it. I can finally see it's coming. These things are really going to occur, and we're really going to start to see this expansion. So we are looking at potentially a new flyover on Webb Road into Alpharetta, just to study it, just to see what would the impacts be. What do we need to do to actually help improve the commercial side of the Deerfield area. Other things that we're really working on is we've hired a consultant to help us with placemaking and branding. So yes, Milton has a brand. We've worked on that brand for 15 years. I really, truly believe we're there. But I'd like to put that brand and study it and figure out how to actually utilize the brand, develop the brand, and then utilize it and get it out there. Is it just a symbol? It could be several things. It could be a brand that shows Deerfield differently than Crabapple. And we're starting to do the brand. I mean, a lot of the developers here have started doing their own branding because they want to keep their developments kind of having that brand. It's important to create these brands. So we'll be working with a committee and like a stakeholder group just like this, and the public to kind of show how we're developing the brand and how we're going through and working out that placemaking and brand so that we can really strengthen Milton as a Milton. I go to Discover Georgia magazine. I see every city but Milton. I don't see Milton in there. I listen to the radio in the morning and they say, oh, traffic is doing great up to Alpharetta. They never say Milton. So I know it's all little things, but Milton's not on the map that way. And maybe in the end, we don't want to be on the map. Maybe we just want to be this little rural back kind of city, but maybe we do want some areas of Milton to have some identity and sort of independence of who we are and to show that we can do it. It's not easy getting the businesses into the Deerfield area. I've spoken to a lot of developers, several sit right here, and they've looked at me and said, Bob, it's development will occur, we'll go up to Windward, and it kind of stops. I'm having a fight to get it deeper into Milton. Well, why is that? So we're going to study all that. We're going to try to figure out what we need to do because we're really here to identify an urban area just as much as the rural area. So we could help those businesses identify and say, okay, this is what we need to do. And the city's going to be there to support that, whether it's placemaking or, whatever we need to do to help build those businesses. Because it's nice to have those areas that we use. We're not looking for regional growth here. We're not looking to bring people in from a regional perspective, but we are looking to make the local businesses there and have some corporations. We do have some office towers in Milton. A lot of people know that. And a lot of them are vacant right now. I've studied them all. I'm looking at, from an economic standpoint, what's our vacancy rate? What's our reabsorption rate? How much is getting reabsorbed? How fast does a business on Highway 9, how long does it last? When it goes out, how long does it stay vacant for? What does it take for a business owner to draw a new business in? How long is the leases for? All of that stuff. We're really studying this. We're putting huge efforts from a staff perspective into all of this. But swinging back, it would be nice to be able to say, This is the urbanized area. This is an area that council understands that is the urban area. So when those businesses come in, it's easy for council to support that because that's where it's supposed to be. It's in that urbanized area of this urban service boundary. And yes, did we support and protect the rural areas? Absolutely. But then let's allow the businesses to grow in the urbanized areas because that's what we've identified. And we've sort of done that already with the form-based code and how we're doing our land use maps. But this would strengthen that. So that's really what it is from a transportation perspective. The last thing I want to say is that they're also looking to do a high-speed bus up 400, which is coming into, it's a high-speed bus program that they're looking at. So, that's just something that's coming through, and it might take years before that develops. But we are looking 20 years out, and that's why we're trying to do this so that we can protect ourselves if we need to at different levels. So I think this is an exciting program. I think it'd be really great. I'd love to hear all the input from everybody on the stakeholders to really understand where the line should be, what we should do with it. If there's any other suggestions that would help do the things that I've been talking about, we're really looking to kind of get that feedback from you all. I'll turn it back to Shiva.
Guys want to speak individually before we open up for public comment? You have any comments?
Yeah, a couple of things. I noticed that Bob actually almost went out of his way not to use the term urban growth boundaries. And I think that might be something for us to consider too in talking about urban service areas or this idea that there are areas we want urban and there are areas that we want to preserve as more rural. And maybe the term that others have used of urban growth boundary is not the right fit for us. So I think we should kind of think about what message are we trying to send? Because I agree with Bob that I think, and I have felt this way for some time, that we need to invest to keep our urban areas vibrant. Because that will attract people to those urban areas and allow the rest to stay a little bit more rural. And I define a little bit more rural because I grew up in Iowa where a farm was 400 acres, not 4. So adjusting a little bit there. My other thought that I'd like to see going forward is for us to look at those places that have been on this journey of defining urban versus rural, and what they wanted those character areas to be like, or those development areas to be like, to learn the lessons they learned, to learn from them what worked, what didn't, what do they wish they had done differently, what were the results, which one had the greater success of not only keeping their rural areas more rural, but also seeing the vibrancy in their more urbanized areas. So I'd like to not just look at, oh, they did it, but how well they did it and what did they learn.
All right, a couple of things. I'd like to look at as we analyze this over the next 4 or 5 meetings. I want to make sure, and Bob, you had said this, I want to make sure that we don't limit future city, if we adopt it, we don't limit the future city councils 5 years out, 10 years out, 50 years out, by not being able to amend it and give them a mechanism to amend it. I think that's very important if we decide to go further with this and really understand the purpose of this. And is this good? I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's not, but I'm sure over the next few meetings we'll kind of figure that out. But overall, this is what's important for me as a citizen, is our tax base. So as we know, the tax base is usually, the commercial tax base takes care of the needs of the citizens. If we want parks, we want garbage pickup, we want better maintained streets, whatever it is, the commercial tax base is that component that pays for that. So do we have the proper mix of a healthy city from our commercial versus our residential tax base? Or maybe the citizens say, hey, we would rather have less density. We're okay with that, but we're also okay with paying more taxes for these things. I don't know what the answer is, but I want us to take a strong look at that, because years ago, I sat on a economic study down in Roswell, and Roswell was upside down. I think it still is, where the residents are being taxed too high because there's not the proper commercial mix. And again, that may be okay for us, but some of us may say we'd rather not. So I want us to look at those 2 points.
Kim?
A lot of the things you referenced when you were speaking about Deerfield, you were spot on. Having worked with Deerfield for many, many years, a lot of the larger companies out there did struggle with the transportation. You know, Windward Parkway is just a bottleneck, no matter what they do. Bless their hearts, they try. And I don't know how many times it was requested that the Deerfield Master Association hire a bus service to pick people up on Windward Parkway where MARTA bus dropped them off, you know, and then take them around to the various office buildings, which is a huge liability for a master association and a huge cost. But that was something that was very, very important to those people. I know on the other side on Windward, you know, they almost had a party when we finally got our first MARTA bus stop. So transportation out here is different. You know, I mean, it used to be people didn't mind driving out here, commuting from Buckhead or whatever, but the traffic is such that it creates problems. And I think that's something that perhaps we could focus on or discuss or come up with different, you know, some options or alternatives.
I'm very interested to hear the public comment, as I'm sure you all are too, so I'll make this quick, but I was interested to learn more. I think I heard you say that Cherokee, the urban,
County.
yeah, just if we could get
It-
more information on that at some
It's just
point.
an agreement between
Okay.
the county and the city. It's really not a map as such, but I can get that more.
I think we
information.
might just be interested to know what the purpose is, what they're trying to accomplish, how they're doing it, because I think closer, Lexington's great. It's probably not exactly like Milton, so just interested in that. The second layer of protection that Mr. Buscemi mentioned, as a member of the comp plan, and so is Kurt, we talked a lot about why Milton is so special, how it is that we got to this place, and so many people up here have lived here their whole lives, and know that we kept at bay certain things so that we have this special place. And the conversation came up, future councils, will they understand that? And how is it that we will, even when all of us are gone, not even here anymore, how will we keep Milton this special place that we have? So this was another layer of protection, and I do agree that it shouldn't, as with the sewer map, it can always be rezoned. So that is how the conversation came up, is that there were in past instances where parcels were rezoned with sewer. So this was thought to be another layer for protection, and I definitely, I am in favor of it, especially as we try to redevelop and infill our areas that we have set aside, because they are, especially in the Deerfield area, very tired and not attractive. And we really, I know Bob's working really hard on that, but I'm looking forward to it since I'm close to that area, and we can certainly improve. So those are my comments, and I look forward to being on this committee because it's very, very diverse, and hearing from the public as well. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, I agree. First of all, great job in pulling us together. I think so many times you see decisions and visions made in a vacuum, but I think you've done a great job of getting a good cross-section of ideas to make this work. I think that helps define success up front. I think this is perfect timing too. We've evolved, and I'm a big proponent of the comprehensive land use plan. You know, it's the number one document I think we have as a city that's got the most, you know, input from the residents, but it's also, you know, very clear in where we go. Like you said, it's defendable in court. So I think it gives everybody a really good idea of what they're moving to, what they're doing. And I do think that, you know, we need to make the urban areas successful. You know, and going back to what Judy said, I'm not a fan of the name. I mean, I think somewhere in the video it said something about sustainable, urban growth boundaries or things like that. I think, you know, again, urban growth boundaries may be a standard term that everybody uses, but I think it can be more of a positive thing. Urban growth says we're setting this up here. No, you don't go outside that. But instead, we're focusing on making those areas successful. So again, I'm happy to be on this, and again, great job on pulling together a good cross section. And of course, you know, the people. One of the things I love about Milton is you can have a voice, you know, on anything we do. So I'm actually very pleasantly surprised to see the number of people showing up tonight. So thank you guys for coming.
So just to kind of parrot a little bit of what Adam brought up, many years ago when the University of Georgia had some planning, they had supposedly a formula of the percentage of commercial versus residential that allowed for the sustainability of a tax revenue of a city. So I would be hesitant to grow, for lack of a better term, the urban or high dense areas if we have the areas already zoned or within the sewer map that would accomplish that. But if we're upside down, I don't know that it's fair to this future residents 25 years from now or 20 years from now that you handcuff them to an unsustainable tax digest. So I would hope that somewhere we could, I'm sure there's some research on a percentage model that would allow that. So I would like to hear that if there is some good empirical data on what your percentages need. And, you know, and Milton may be that white elephant because of its the high value of its residential. Maybe it skews it out, but I would like to know that. I would want to know that before I voted on a map that was increasing or basically holding it the same. And somehow or other, I would like to know if I'm increasing this area, what percentage would be allowed of residential rental units. So it's one thing for me to think of businesses, but this urban growth boundary would probably allow, you know, in the Halcyon, the Avalons, those models that seem to be the development trend as opposed to strip shopping centers. I'd like to know that there's some control on a percentage. I would not be necessarily for an expansion that allowed a lot of residential rental units, because during time they don't seem to sustain their value or keep the areas around them. So that's kind of my I would like to know where we are from a percentage wise, if we're in line with our commercial to residential ratio, and kind of what controls would be in place if within this boundary. But I think it's very, very important that the redevelopment of our existing kind of takes priority over increasing or growing. I know we were talking about, so in the past, when Alpharetta or Roswell wanted to grow, when this was all unincorporated, they just rezoned and annexed. And that's the Cherokee County ball ground model, is that the residents in unincorporated Cherokee County, because it's happened in Holly Springs and Canton and all the other cities, those cities have the right from the state to go out and annex, and then they immediately rezone, and you're next door, and you thought you were going to have a farm next to you, and now you've got a high-density development. So I know everything around here is already in a city, so that we don't have to fear. But this would basically be creating that line in the sand that this is high dense and low dense. So anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you.
Nothing for me at this time.
Thank you, Jake. Now we will open for public comments. So Robin, do you want to call or you have names?
Darn.
Don't have anything on the agenda. So we did overview and the schedule, and so the next step for us is the next stakeholder meeting, which will be more discussion, and I'll be glad to present you the data that you requested. Hopefully, I'll do my research and get you that data, and then we can discuss the options, alternatives on the map, maybe. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Shuba. So will you get back, you have our emails, and you'll once you know when you can get all that information together, you'll shoot us, you let us know
Yep.
what your time frame is for that meeting?
Yep, and I'll float some dates for the next meeting ahead of the time so that
Okay.
everybody can join us. We don't want to miss anybody, so that would be good. So that's about it. I guess we can adjourn because unless anybody wants to say something. No.
So just real quick for the folks that are here, that will be advertised in plenty of time for the public to participate as well. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I
Great.
will. Thank you.
All right. Thank
Move to
you.
adjourn?
Second.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.